It all started with silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl. No one could reach Prince Harry. No texts, no calls, just nothing. And that's when David Langdown, Harry's longtime bodyguard, started to worry. This wasn't some hired muscle off Craigslist. Langdown is a former Scotland Yard officer, decorated, respected, and trusted with a job so high stakes, it might as well come with a royal stress allowance, keeping Harry alive, according to insiders. It was Langdown who found Harry, unresponsive, slumped, and completely unconscious. This wasn't the he passed out on the couch after a few beers kind of scene. This was medical, urgent, dangerous. Now, let's pause for a second. We're talking about the same Prince Harry who once wore a Nazi costume to a party and survived it. The same Harry who got naked in Vegas and somehow turned it into a charitable redemption arc. But this wasn't just another royal oopsie. This was life-threatening. Emergency services were called, and Harry was allegedly rushed to a California hospital under tight security. No sirens, no flashing lights, just a quiet, controlled panic. And while doctors worked to stabilize him, someone else was stabilizing Meghan's public image, because she was already gone. Reports claim Meghan left the scene before paramedics even showed up, not because she was terrified, not to follow the ambulance. No, she allegedly fled the estate and headed straight to an exclusive LA club, where she was seen laughing, sipping drinks, and doing the exact opposite of standing by your man. One source said it was like she was performing an alibi, getting photographed with friends, seen by VIP staff, making sure there was zero chance she could be linked to what happened at home. And honestly, it worked, at least for a few hours. But that's the part that's raising eyebrows now. Because if your partner is unconscious, possibly in the middle of an overdose, what kind of person turns that into a photo op? And this isn't just some wild rumor whispered into the void. Staff members close to the couple allegedly saw it all play out in real time. And they weren't just shocked, they were scared. According to one anonymous insider, it felt like something had been building for weeks. This wasn't sudden, it was inevitable. So no, this wasn't a party gone wrong or some royal prank that crossed the line. This was a moment of real crisis. And no one inside the house seemed surprised, especially not David Langdown. Because if the whispers are true, he's been bracing for this moment for years. But what if this near tragedy wasn't a one-time event, but just the latest in a string of royal cover-ups no one dared talk about until now? Here's the thing about Prince Harry. The man didn't just start spiraling last week. This wasn't a random detour. It's been a slow-motion car crash for over 2 decades. The only difference now, there's no one left to steer him back on course. Let's rewind to the early 2000s, back when Harry was still the palace's favorite chaos gremlin. On the surface, he was the cheeky, rebellious prince, the royal wildcard who snuck cigarettes between polo matches and danced a little too hard at charity galas. But beneath that grinning tabloid exterior, something darker was brewing. Insiders say that Harry's experimentation with substances started shockingly early. Marijuana, alcohol. A few lines of this, a few tabs of that. And no, we're not talking about frat boy rebellion. We're talking about serious usage that left royal aides scrambling to cover up what looked like a slow descent into addiction. And when things started spiraling behind palace walls, what did Prince Charles, now King Charles, do to get his son help? He didn't call a counselor. He didn't stage an intervention. No, he allegedly built a private nightclub inside Highgrove. Yes, a literal nightclub, complete with soundproof walls, blackout curtains, and just enough plausible deniability to keep it out of the press. Because nothing says parenting like saying, if I can't stop the party, I'll just bring the party home. And it didn't stop there. Stories resurfacing now suggest that Harry's substance use didn't just continue, it escalated. We're talking about blackout episodes, dangerous combinations of alcohol and uppers, and one particularly deranged incident involving snorting vodka. Not drinking, snorting. Which, for those who didn't go to Royal Finishing School or Burning Man, means bypassing your liver entirely and sending the alcohol directly into your bloodstream through your nasal passage. Medical experts say it can cause brain damage or even death. But sure, let's keep calling him the relatable prince. The media barely touched these stories at the time. Why? Because the one paper bold enough to print them, News of the World, got shut down shortly after. Different scandal, of course, but the timing? Suspicious. And the result? The rest of the press backed off. Coincidence? Maybe. Or maybe the palace made sure no one dug too deep. And here's the kicker. This wasn't just about teenage rebellion or bad decision-making. According to people who worked closely with Harry during that era, there were real warning signs: emotional outbursts, erratic behavior, and nights that ended with security physically carrying him out of private events. Yet somehow, the stories always disappeared. The headlines vanished. The royals spun it into youthful exuberance, slapped a military uniform on him, and sent him off to war. And the public bought the redemption arc, but the cracks never fully sealed. And now that Harry's collapse is making headlines again, those same stories are bubbling back to the surface with even more disturbing details than before. Because if Harry's past was a slow descent into darkness, then Meghan Markle may have been the match that lit the fuse. There's a growing theory floating around royal circles, and it's the kind of thing that makes palace insiders shift uncomfortably in their tailored suits. The theory that Meghan Markle didn't just tolerate Harry's unraveling, she allegedly engineered it. Let's be clear, this isn't some bitter ex-royal employee's fantasy. Multiple sources close to the situation have started whispering the same disturbing narrative, that Meghan didn't just look the other way when Harry spiraled. She may have quietly steered the wheel. According to insiders, Meghan was well aware of Harry's long, messy history with substances before she ever walked down the aisle. And rather than encouraging him to get help, some say she used it to tighten her grip, keeping Harry emotionally dazed and dependent while she orchestrated their public image. It's like a twisted version of The Crown, only this time, the manipulation isn't about politics, it's personal. Think that's far-fetched? Let's take a look at her track record. Back in 2011, at Meghan's first wedding in Jamaica to producer Trevor Engelson, guests weren't sent home with thank you cards or scented candles. No, party favors at that wedding reportedly included rolled joints, hand-packed by Meghan herself. Multiple guests has confirmed that they didn't even realize what they had brought back to the US until they were already through customs. That's not just reckless. It's a felony waiting to happen. And then there's the Hollywood reputation. Before she ever wore a tiara or smiled through a royal tour, Meghan was reportedly known in certain LA circles, not for her acting chops, but for knowing how to throw a party. A real party. The kind where the goodie bags don't come from Sephora. Now, fast forward to Montecito. Sources say Meghan has built an ecosystem around Harry, carefully curated, tightly controlled, and suspiciously isolated from anyone who might interfere. Family? Cut off. Old friends? Ghosted. Longtime royal staff? Replaced. Even Harry's own therapist, according to one report, was replaced by someone closer to the family, meaning closer to Meghan. And here's where it gets darker. Some insiders claim that Meghan allegedly used Harry's vulnerable state to create emotional leverage. One source said, it's like she keeps him just unstable enough to be dependent, but never quite bad enough to trigger an intervention. That's not just manipulative, that's diabolical. But Meghan doesn't do it alone, because standing just out of frame, silent, composed, and ever-present, is Meghan's mother, Doria Raglan. And according to people who spent time in that household, Doria might not be the wholesome yoga mom the press thinks she is. Because once you pull back the curtain on Meghan's life, you'll see Doria's fingerprints everywhere, and the rumors about her past might be more explosive than anyone realized. If Meghan Markle is the face of the drama, then Doria Raglan is the whisper behind the curtain, and the whispers are getting louder. From the very beginning, Doria has kept a remarkably low profile. No explosive interviews, no social media drama, just calm, collected silence. And that's exactly what has people suspicious, because behind the serene yoga instructor image lies a woman who, according to multiple sources, might know far more about Harry's unraveling than she lets on. Let's rewind. Back when Meghan was still climbing a Hollywood ladder, Doria was reportedly her closest advisor. Not just in the motherly, follow your dreams way, but in the here's how to play the game kind of way. Some insiders say Doria taught Meghan how to curate her image, control a room, and, most notably, leverage proximity to power. And once Harry came into the picture, the stakes got a whole lot higher. Now, here's where things get murky. Rumors about Doria's past have floated through LA for years. Nothing confirmed, of course, but the whispers are enough to make palace officials nervous. Alleged connections to California's underworld, rumored relationships with people who specialize in, let's just say, unregulated pharmaceuticals. And while none of this has been officially proven, the timing of Doria's sudden reappearance in Meghan's inner circle during Harry's most vulnerable moments hasn't gone unnoticed. According to a former employee of the Sussex household, Doria started spending a lot more time at the Montecito estate. Around the time Harry's alleged behavior began noticeably shifting, he was moodier, isolated, reportedly mixing prescription meds with alcohol, and Doria, always there, quiet, observing, present. Some even believe Doria was the bridge between Harry's declining mental state and the people who supplied the substances. One theory suggests that when Meghan needed to maintain clean hands, Doria handled the logistics. Again, no hard proof, but enough overlapping testimonies to raise royal eyebrows. There's also a growing belief that Doria acted as the buffer between Harry and any outside influence. She allegedly helped monitor who got close, who could speak to him, and what information reached him. It's the kind of gatekeeping that would be unsettling in any relationship, let alone one involving a prince whose entire life has been shaped by trauma. Even staff members, many of whom signed NDAs, have started talking. One former housekeeper, speaking anonymously, described Doria as polite but commanding. She added, "It was clear she wasn't just Meghan's mom. She was running the show behind the scenes." And let's not forget, Doria has her own history with sudden disappearances. She's been absent for long stretches of Meghan's life, only to reappear when the stakes were high. That pattern alone has led some to speculate that she's more calculating than anyone wants to admit. In private royal circles, there's a phrase being used more and more, the Markle women. It's a quiet nod to the idea that both Meghan and Doria have long operated as a duo, strategic, careful, and always 3 steps ahead, not reckless, but methodical, not loud, but dangerously effective. And now, with Harry collapsing and the media circling, some insiders believe Doria is already moving to protect Meghan, and by extension, herself, cleaning up messes, tightening the circle, making sure no one leaves with the kind of story that could unravel everything. But no matter how carefully Doria and Meghan manage their image, there's one force they can't control: the royal PR machine, and it's waking up with a vengeance. If you think the British royal family is just about crowns, carriages, and pastel coat dresses, think again. Behind the polished smiles and choreographed balcony waves is a PR machine so ruthless it makes Hollywood look like amateur hour. And when it comes to Prince Harry, that machine has been in overdrive for years. So the moment he hit puberty with a Marlboro in one hand and a pint in the other, the palace has been managing Harry like a high-risk investment. Every time he veered off course, every time the headlines got too wild, boom, a military deployment, a charity mission, a Vogue profile about emotional vulnerability. It's been damage control on a royal scale, and they're good at it. There was that time in 2007 when Harry reportedly inhaled an entire canister of nitrous oxide. Yes, laughing gas, while visiting a hospital. The kind of gas that's supposed to be administered by professionals in a controlled medical setting. But Harry, according to tabloid clippings buried deeper than King Charles's approval ratings, he got his hands on it, and no one's quite sure how. That incident should have made international headlines. It didn't. The palace swept it under the rug like it was just another royal prank. One quick photo op with a terminally ill child later, and the story was gone. Then there were the violent outbursts. Yes, reportedly violent. Shouting matches, hotel staff threatened, objects thrown during substance-fueled episodes. But every time a leak got close to making daylight, the palace would pivot. A new documentary about Diana, a surprise engagement announcement, a sudden tour of Africa, sleight of hand, PR edition. And here's the thing, the media plays along, not because they're royal loyalists, but because access to the monarchy is currency. If you print something too ugly, too real, too close to the truth, say goodbye to your press pass, your interviews, your behind-the-scenes exclusives. It's a game of survival, and the palace holds all the cards, which makes what's happening now so disturbing, because for the first time in years, the machine is stalling. The press isn't jumping in with their usual fluffy distractions. The palace hasn't released one of its famously vague no-comment statements. Not even a blurry photo of Harry in a Range Rover to signal he's okay. Nothing, just silence. And according to insiders, that's not because they don't know what to say. It's because they can't say anything without triggering a chain reaction they won't be able to stop. Here's what one senior royal aide allegedly told a trusted biographer off the record. "If we go on the record about Harry's condition, even to deny it, we open the door for every skeleton in that family's closet. That includes ones the public has no idea exist." So what's the strategy? Contain the story, control the narrative, hope it fizzles out. And if that doesn't work, sacrifice someone. Because, make no mistake, the palace always finds a scapegoat. And lately, whispers suggest that scapegoat might not be her. It might be Meghan. There's growing chatter among royal courtiers that Meghan has become a liability, not just in public perception, but in actual damage risk. The concern isn't just what she's done, it's what she knows. Emails, texts, audio recordings, private conversations with Charles, William, even the late Queen. If this thing spirals, Meghan could blow the whole operation sky high, which is why the palace has gone dark, not to protect Harry, to protect themselves. But even the most powerful machine can't stop the truth, especially when the one person who knows everything is finally done staying quiet. In a world filled with palace insiders, PR consultants, and celebrity hangers-on, there's one name that keeps resurfacing, quietly, consistently, and with a growing sense of importance. David Langdown. You've probably never heard of him, and that's exactly how he likes it. Langdown isn't just some burly guy in sunglasses opening car doors. He's a decorated former Scotland Yard officer, the kind of man who's trained to read a room, disarm a threat, and vanish before anyone even realizes he was there. For years, he was the silent shadow behind Prince Harry, protecting him not just from the public, but sometimes from himself. According to people close to the situation, David Langdown has been more than just a bodyguard. He's been Harry's confidant, his anchor, his last real connection to the outside world that isn't filtered through the lens of fame or trauma or Meghan's carefully curated inner circle. It was Langdown, not Meghan, not the palace, who allegedly found Harry during his recent medical crisis. And sources say he didn't hesitate. No waiting, no checking with a publicist. No, let me text someone to get clearance. He called the hospital. He got the team. He saved Harry's life. And as that sounds dramatic, it's Harry. It's because it is. Langdown has reportedly been witness to every chaotic chapter of Harry's life, from the Vegas benders to the army dodges, from the breakdowns in palace halls to the Montecito collapse. And through it all, he stayed loyal, silent, professional until now. Because according to recent chatter, Langdown might be the one person the palace is afraid of. Why? Because unlike royal aides or PR teams, Langdown didn't sign up to spin stories or manage press leaks. He signed up to protect Harry. And now that Harry's health is in jeopardy, and Meghan's name is being whispered as the reason, Langdown may be the only one left who can confirm what really happened behind closed doors. There's even talk that Langdown has kept a personal log, notes, timestamps, eyewitness details of every incident the public never heard about. Not out of revenge, not to profit, but because he knew one day someone would need to tell the truth. And let's be honest, he's got motive. Sources say Langdown's relationship with Meghan has always been tense. She allegedly tried to sideline him multiple times, pushing for new security, claiming she wanted a more Hollywood detail. But Harry refused every time, because deep down, even in his most disconnected moments, he knew Langdown was the only one who didn't have an angle. He's not leaking stories. He's not doing interviews. He's not shopping around a tell-all. He's just waiting, watching, ready to speak if and when Harry truly needs him. And that moment might be now, because Langdown reportedly made the 911 call himself. And when the hospital asked for next of kin, it wasn't Meghan they contacted. It was Langdown who stayed. Langdown who coordinated. Langdown who told the staff to protect Harry's privacy at all costs. That detail alone is telling, because when a bodyguard becomes your emergency contact, your wife's alibi is sipping cocktails across town, and the royal family's playing dead silent? That's not security. That's a rescue mission. But even with Langdown's loyalty, the question remains, can one man shield Harry from a storm that's already being weaponized behind palace walls? Behind the scenes of the monarchy, everything is about control, controlling the narrative, controlling the optics, controlling who takes the fall when the press gets too close. But this time, things are spinning out faster than anyone expected, and no one's prepared for what's coming next. Sources inside Buckingham Palace say King Charles was personally notified the moment Harry was admitted to the hospital, not by his press team, not through the tabloids, but by a direct, urgent phone call from California, one that reportedly had him up pacing the halls of Clarence House until sunrise. There was no official statement, no press release, not even a carefully worded, "Our thoughts are with the Duke and Duchess." Just total lockdown. Because when it comes to scandal, the palace follows a very specific rulebook. If you ignore it long enough, the public will move on. But this time, the public isn't moving on, and neither are the people inside the palace. According to multiple insiders, Meghan's behavior the night of Harry's collapse, allegedly fleeing the scene to be spotted at an exclusive club, sent shockwaves through royal advisors. One senior aide reportedly called it the final straw. Another said, "It's not just bad optics, it's a betrayal." Let's be blunt. Meghan's absence didn't just look suspicious, it looked strategic. She didn't just vanish. She made sure to be seen by the right people in the right places, creating a paper trail of innocence, an alibi. And the royal family? They noticed. For the first time since Harry left the UK, the whispers inside court circles aren't just about him, they're about her. Officials are allegedly revisiting everything. The couple's exit, their explosive Oprah interview, the private meetings they claimed were denied, the truth bombs dropped in their Netflix special. Suddenly, it's not just tabloid gossip, it's potential evidence. They want to know, did Meghan isolate Harry on purpose? Did she encourage his dependence while maintaining plausible deniability? And if drugs were involved, did she help him access them? Because here's the ugly truth no one wants to say out loud. If even one of those things turns out to be true, Meghan becomes not just a PR risk, but a direct threat to the royal institution. And there's another layer. Behind Meghan, always in the background, is her mother, Doria. The palace has started asking questions about her too, about her influence, her alleged connections, her presence in the house during Harry's worst moments. One source said, "We've underestimated her. All of us have. If this story explodes publicly, and make no mistake, it's close, the palace knows it'll take more than a photo op and a charity gala to fix it." That's why, according to legal insiders, lawyers are quietly being prepped, not for divorce, not yet, but for damage control, legal firewalls, crisis plans, reputation management of the nuclear variety. Because here's the nightmare scenario. If Harry doesn't fully recover, or worse, if he decides to speak out, unfiltered and unscripted, this could tear open every royal secret that's been buried under decades of decorum. The headlines won't just be about addiction. They'll be about manipulation, enabling, maybe even criminal liability. And Meghan, she won't be protected this time. Not like before. One former palace staffer said it best. She's out of goodwill, out of cover. And the royals don't shield outsiders when they start to burn the palace down. It's a chilling sentiment, but it's real. Because Harry's collapse wasn't just a personal crisis. It was a signal, a red flag so massive, even the most loyal monarchists can't pretend it didn't happen. And as the dust settles, one thing is becoming painfully clear. It isn't just about Harry and Meghan anymore. It's about the monarchy itself. But as the palace braces for impact, one question remains. What happens if Harry finally breaks the silence and tells the world everything? Prince Harry has always been painted as the misunderstood royal, the wild child, the one who strayed. But if you strip away the headlines, the privilege, and the palace polish, what you're left with isn't a rebel. It's a man who's been drowning in pain for most of his life. And now, it seems he's finally hit bottom. His recent collapse wasn't just a medical scare, it was a warning shot. A flare fired into the sky for anyone still paying attention. Because if the rumors are even half true, this wasn't a one-time overdose. It was the latest chapter in a pattern of quiet breakdowns, failed interventions, and emotional sabotage hidden behind royal curtains. And the palace? They've been playing defense for so long, they don't even remember what honesty looks like. Behind the scenes, lawyers are allegedly preparing for every possibility. A media storm, leaked recordings, insider testimonies, maybe even Harry, raw and unfiltered, sitting down in front of a camera and finally telling the truth. Not the carefully PR sanitized version, the real one, about his trauma, about Meghan, about how much was really hidden from the world. And if that happens, the consequences won't just hit Harry and Meghan. They'll shake the monarchy to its core. Because Harry isn't just a royal figure. He's a symbol of modern rebellion, of vulnerability, of what happens when a broken system chews someone up and spits them out in a three-piece suit. And now, that symbol is bleeding publicly. The palace may try to contain it. Meghan may try to rebrand it. But the truth is, Harry has reached the point where even a $50 million Netflix deal and a California mansion can't insulate him from the damage anymore. The collapse didn't come from nowhere. It came from years of unresolved trauma, from a family that prioritized silence over healing, from a marriage that, according to insiders, blurred the lines between love and leverage, from a life so publicly dissected and emotionally abandoned that the only escape left was self-destruction. And that's what makes this so heartbreaking, because somewhere beneath the headlines and hospital reports, behind the rumors and rehab whispers, is still a son, a father, a man who's been propped up as both hero and villain, when in truth, he was probably never prepared to be either. And now the people closest to him, the ones who could have helped, are either gone, silent, or allegedly complicit. Meghan, she's already being treated like a liability by royal insiders. If even a fraction of these allegations stick, she'll be cut off so fast, the fallout will be brutal. No more olive branches, no more grace. Doria, she may never speak publicly, but her influence is already under scrutiny. The palace, bracing, clenching, hoping the silence holds. But the world is watching, and Harry, when he chooses to speak out, disappear, or unravel further, one thing is clear. The fantasy is over. The carefully curated royal redemption arc shattered. What's left is something far more real and far more dangerous. Because when you trap a man in a system that values image over healing, obedience over truth, and silence over survival, you don't just risk losing him, you risk watching him explode. This isn't just a royal scandal, it's a reckoning. And if Harry decides to take everyone down with him, the palace won't just lose a prince, it could lose everything.